Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Welcome to the Troyiverse. Hello again, I am Troy, or Troyiverse, if you will, or if you know me well enough, Bear. Uh, I am again coming at you from my touching grass location of a park that I am currently enjoying the presence of. Actually, a quick tidbit before I even get into the episode. This just happened as I was walking up. Forgive the sniffling. It's winter. I'm outside. It's literally November 13th, my brother's birthday. Um, so anybody who knows my brother in real life, if y'all hearing this podcast like 2 weeks later or a week later, and just happy belated birthday. You know this. But anyway, as I'm walking up to my bench and table, not my bench and table, but the bench and table of the park, and as I was walking up, I seen a deer. It was actually really beautiful. It was little baby. It was like little Bambi. Little Bambi was there. It was dope. It was just eating grass. I didn't even notice it. Like it noticed me before I noticed it, of course. But when it noticed me and then I noticed it, like I was just like, oh hi, and like it just stayed there, didn't run away, just looked at me real fast, like oh, like okay, human, cool. And it just went back to graze, and I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to like take a video and like, you know, cherish this like memory. Like, it was a blessing. I was really grateful for it. I actually recorded a little bit, said hi, thank the deer for letting me record it and not running away and being afraid, and just telling her how I appreciate and grateful. And I actually posted a video on my TikTok. So if you go look up Troyiverse 81 on TikTok, then you'll see the video of the deer and me basically gushing all over it because it's just like how often. I mean, I'm I don't go into the woods yet. I am planning to in the future, like camping and stuff like that. But I don't often go in areas where there's more livestock than humans, let alone livestock intermingling with humans and stuff like that. So it was really dope to actually see a real deer in real life and not have to go to the zoo and see it. Once again, really fast to bet. I can't stand the zoo. I don't like the smells. I have a it's a, I don't like smells that I don't like, and I mean no one likes smells that they don't like, of course, but I don't like it. I can't even go. Like when I was a kid, I went to the zoo once and on a school trip, and I was just like, I can't go ever again. Like if they're ever going, I just stay. I either stay home and like I'm sick and watch some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, or I want to like go to school and just be like the only 2 to 3 kids that was there or whatever like that. Which we sometimes those days are fun because they just have us watch movies and stuff like that because there's no reason to have the kids do anything because yeah, whatever. But anyway, um, besides that anecdote of me being grateful for existence and life and nature and that beautiful, wonderful deer, um, let's get back into um some things pertaining to like the first episode and my life stuff like that. As I said before in episode 2, I was like, there's a lot of stuff going on, and if you have already listened to episode 4, then you know how I process and how I release the negative energy or negative emotion or negative vibes that either might be transferred to me or just some triggers and stuff like that I might get from reactions from other people that correlated to things that like once again triggered, but I hate using the word for the definition, but things that actually brought me to an emotional state of uncomfortability, then once again, I allow myself to feel those emotions. I allow myself to process those emotions. I allow myself to understand the message or the lessons from that situation and experience. And then afterwards, then I release it either by crying, sobbing, releasing it that way, or just processing to enough, even if I don't have to cry, I process enough. Because one of my things that I used to do a lot of shadow work, and I still do shadow work, but it's less frequent this time because I'm more balanced than who I am. But once again, life always goes on, and with every new challenge, it's always going to be a new level up of different things that might be uncomfortable that because it's new and sometimes you gotta work through that uncomfortability by using the shadow works and the tools that you had get that got you this far to also do it again. It was a line that I read from one of the book series I read, Jim Butcher's Harry Dresden Files or the Dresden Files, and it was a thing where the main character Harry Dresden, he's a wizard, and I'm sorry, he's a wizard. He in the actual book he actually quotes Harry Potter, because he was talking about himself. He was like, "You're a wizard, Harry." It was so. And every time I think about Harry Dresden, I always think about that line about Harry Potter. So, but he was. I'm not going to spoil any major plot points. Let's just say that further along in the book series, he had to get to a point where he had to redo simple spells again. And in doing these simple spells again, doing the basic of these spells, he basically it reminded him of how far he advanced, as well as now he could implement even more of his new found talents into the old lessons that he had previously learned. And basically, that's what I'm saying. Like, life is always, even though you get through the challenges that you and the lessons that you experienced, that doesn't mean that now that you're good, it's going to go back to always being good now. There's nothing, no turbulence going to happen in your life ever again. That's just not feasible because you'll never grow, you'll never evolve, you'll never become better than what you are. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is literally from Naruto, the original, not Shippuden. And don't at me for saying the names wrong. I say what I say. But when when Rock Lee was fighting Gar in the first one, and he was just he he got his leg. I'm not gonna spoil it because anybody who hasn't watched it yet, which please do. It's a excellent like saga. Like for me, it has more emotional chords than any other saga I've ever watched. Like including like Dragon Ball Z, the Dragon Ball GT, the Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball, like the other one, universes or whatever it's called, um, Boy Meets World, and all the templates of stuff that I grew up on. Naruto had me sobbing on like multiple like storylines and story tracks. Like I felt so in tune and so akin to that character. Just being alone and trying to be the best so he can prove himself to himself, but because he was a child, he kept on screaming and kept on saying like he was trying to prove it to everybody else, which in a way he was. But at the end of it, he realized his resolve and understanding it's not about him trying to better himself to prove anything to anybody. It was more, or at least this is my interpretation. It was him bettering himself because he understood how important everyone was to him, and that's why he was trying to protect them and keep them safe. And that's why he kept having to get stronger and stronger and evolve. And that's kind of like my motto. And even in going to back to the Rock Lee character and going into the Shippuden story arc, one of the I I vibe with Rock Lee so much because he was just one of the only people. Once again, the black sheep, if you will. He was one of the only people besides guy who didn't have any taijutsu. He could only use his fist. He couldn't use any ninja abilities and stuff. And it was just how daunting and like isolating that feels to be like so superior in who you are, but also have to conflict with the fact that you're the only one besides the person who tortured you. You're the only one you can really relate to, and it's cool that you can relate to this older mentor and that's teaching you and helping you perfect yourself. But him being a kid, it was the thing that he until he did, he felt confident enough to be like, yo, I can ride with everybody. Like it doesn't matter. We're all unique in our own way, and we all bring something to the table. But the fact that it was that one arc where he was just like talking to the team and talking to his mentor. He was like, "Yo, we gotta be better than we were yesterday." Like that's the goal. Like make it's not a competition with anybody else. It's a competition with yourself. And even if I go into my whole metaphor of all in one, it's still the same thing because even if you're looking at somebody else and saying, "Oh, I want that," you're still competing against yourself. I literally told somebody that on YouTube. We was it was because I'm a comic book kid, a lot of people I always run into these like polls and all these things like what character could beat these characters, blah 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 blah. And of course, my motto has always been the Stan Lee motto. It depends on the writer. Whoever the writer wants to win, that's who the writer going to win. And when it comes down to it, you can't just pose a question outward to the world because regardless of anything, everybody's going to have a bias when it comes to certain heroes. Unless you don't know anything about any of the characters stuff like that, you just going off appearance. You could just say, "Oh, I think that one," and then you could be enlightened or like educated about those characters if you choose to or not. But when it comes down to it, it was a question about Blue Marvel, which anybody who know me personally know Blue Marvel is one of my favorite characters. Like Wolverine is my first and favorite character. He's like one of my archetype characters. But when it comes down to other characters in like Marvel and DC and an Image and other Dark Horse and Matt Cave and all stuff like that, like Blue Marvel is one of my favorites. Sync is one of my favorites. Sync from New Mutants, now X Men. Um, oh, who? What else? Prodigy. Prodigy is an amazing character. Uh, I like it's other characters like, but I'm not gonna go down the list. I'll be here all day. That'll be the whole rest of the hour. But anyway, the question was like, could Blue Marvel go through a gauntlet of like different characters that are death related characters? So like Black Flash and like Necron and like even I think Noel was in it and like the Black Lightning, not Black Lightning, the Black Lantern, the the energy source for the Black Lanterns, the Death Lanterns, and the Black Lantern Corps or the Green Lantern storylines or like that. And I was just like, it's that easy stuff because my thing was, regardless of my opinion of me liking Blue Marvel or not, I'm going to go off with the comic book aspect. Heroes always win. Even if there's a time when the heroes lose or get knocked down, they come back and they win. So it's never going to be a thing where with comic books, evil is going to prevail. Even with the whole concept now with like, I'm not sure if y'all familiar or keeping abreast with what's going on in DC comic books and stuff like that, or even in Marvel comic books, but like Marvel and DC are both doing similar things, which I have a whole theory about. I told my brother about it. I'll get into that probably in like the next episode 6 or something like that about the theory about Marvel, DC, and yada yada yada. But anyway, um, and I was like, yeah, he wins not because of my bias, but because of the fact that good always prevails over evil. So yeah, he's gonna win. And some guy got on the thing was like, no, he's not. And I was like, listen, read more because that's all I can say. Because I can't really go off of what you know because I don't know what you know, but I do know what I know, and I know point blank period in comic books. The rule always states heroes will always win in the end. Like they will have their time when they get knocked out. They have their time when they've been in coma. They have their time when they blow up. They're gonna win. It is what it is. And Blue Marvel, regardless of that, his stats are incredible. He's basically the same power level, if not stronger, than Superman. But he's actually an actual real human being from Earth who actually got his powers from an experiment because he is a super genius. Oh, our puppy's going over. So it comes to the thing. Hi, puppy. And he comes to the thing where um the sorry, he just came over and said, "What you doing?" Oh, nothing. All right, talk to you later. I'm enjoying being outside. It's more so that I used to, but equally as much as I did when I was a kid, if that makes sense. Like in my 20s, I didn't really want to go outside. Like I wanted to party, I want to get drunk, I want to get high, but I didn't want to go outside. Even in my 30s, I was like, I don't want to go outside. You know, for some reason now in my 40s, I'm just like, I want to go out in nature. I want to go and do my childhood like aspirations and be a gummy bear and make my gummy bear wine or my gummy bear juice and live out in the forest with my gummy bear family and like my friends and stuff like that, my tribe. Like, but yeah, I don't know, maybe that's it. But just I don't know, I'm just grateful. I'm enjoying myself right now. Anyway, going back to the thing. So but basically he was like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, all I said was go read. I didn't even say that. Oh, the first comment was like, "Go read more." He came back with like, "I'm like no more." I was like, "You're arguing with yourself because I'm not arguing with you. I believe what I believe. You believe what you believe. That's the end of the discussion. You're not going to change my mind by. Matter of fact, first off, you're not going to change my mind. Period. Secondly, you're not gonna change my mind by insulting me. So that's just closed door right there, bud. Go educate yourself. But anyway, um, when it thinking about all these aspects of making yourself better than the next day, and like being in a point of gratefulness and learning and understanding oneself and bettering oneself, it was a point where when I said on the second episode, if you listen to this episode, if you haven't, then please go because it's very enjoyable. I mean, I'm biased, but you know, but I was going through a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff I still can't talk about because it pertains to things that's going to happen that is just I'm living in the existence of the moment and allowing it to happen. But there's other things that has happened that I just had to process and I had to like learn from it and I had to release. And one of those things was, ironically enough, I started to realize something after I had a big blowout with one of my family members. And well, one, they basically that family member basically was like, I'm an idiot and you know, they don't respect me and stuff like that. Ironically enough, I was literally came and talked to them about a family situation I thought everybody should be abreast of since everybody was only getting pieces of this conversation. But digress. What I learned from that lesson, because that's not my path no more. So what I learned from that lesson was the fact that like I understand now so much more about myself and about who I am as well as who I was with my blood family. Like it's interesting because I can't say what they was thinking or what how they feel about me. I can only tell you my perception of everything. So once again, this is my stories and my perceptions of my reality of my perspective. So I understand now why it was so hard for me in my later years to garner friends and get friendship and to have people in my corner. And that was because of the fact that I never really knew, I was never taught how to do that in the first place. Like engaging with people, talking to people. Like I come off awkward because I am awkward, and I honestly I don't mind being awkward because I enjoy being weird because I'm a unique individual and this is who I am. But the things that I learned growing up was to be a fly on the wall because I was the youngest sibling and the youngest individual in my family growing up. So it was like a good, I want to say 4 year gap between one of my cousins and a 6 year gap. Um, no, I'm sorry, not 6 year gap, but like the her sister was 2 years older than her, so that's what I meant by a 6 year gap between her and I. But um, so I was always around. Like they would bring their friends over, and I would of course have crushes on their friends, and once again that spawned my affections and attractions for older women. Um, it didn't help the fact that, of course, when I was like saying, "Hey, I want to be your boyfriend," and they was like, "Oh, that's cute." They thought it was me being funny and being a little kid and stuff like that. I was like, "Yeah, I'll be a play girlfriend." And I'm like, "Oh, you were a real girlfriend." You were like, "Yeah, you said yes, so you want a real girlfriend," because that's what the rules are in kindergarten in school. Like by this time, I'm like 8, 9, 10, yada yada yada. So now, like, yeah, like when I was 5, somebody asked me to be their, boyfriend. I said yes, and now we're boyfriend girlfriend. I didn't understand this whole play boyfriend girlfriend thing. But anyway, I was a child. But even with that, I would hang out with them, my older cousins, in the house because I couldn't go out with them when they was going places, and they didn't want to take me anywhere anyway because I'm like 8 years old, 9 years old, or like that. But like I would just sit there and just listen to them talk. So my upbringing was literally me being like, there was a scene from the show Coupling. I think it's like the third episode. I think it's like the third episode, and it's um, Steve is talking to Jeff and Patrick, and Steve and Steve and Jeff is doing a back and forth conversation, and Patrick is just sitting there, just like a tennis match, just looking at both of them, just listening to the conversation. And Jeff brings it up. It's like, yeah, it's like if three people are in a conversation with only two people talking, and you have one person just sitting there like a blob, like Patrick. It was like, but I was always like Patrick because I was always like I want to listen because I want to learn and I want to understand. Especially since I'm like, this is my girlfriend. If she got something to say, I want to listen to her talk. And it was so funny because once again, I lived in a house full of women. Like there was men in the house. It was my grandfather was in the house, but he's my grandfather, and I'll get to a story about that because honestly, I just realized me and my grandpa had a Rick and Morty experience when I was younger, and it's so funny. But it's funny to me, and it's always been funny to me. But it's still, it's it's another Troy story. Let's just say that. So yeah, I would just like it was me. My own grandpa was there, but he's old and he used to indulge in drinking, which I apparently got the alcohol gene from him because no one else could drink like me and my grandpa. Everybody else is pretty much lightweights, so it's whatever. That's I digress. But so I used to just listen to him. And in my kid head as a boyfriend, I was like, well, I don't got anything to say, so I'll just listen to my girlfriend talk to understand her and learn her better and like, figure out what she likes and what she don't like. Just try to be the best like young boyfriend for an older girl, I could possibly be and type stuff. And that was what made me into what I am now, which is I'm just a guy who just likes listening to like people talk. I enjoy learning people's stories and hear. So like a lot of my ex girlfriends, when we would get in a relationship, yeah, I talk a lot, but I also adverse reaction also from my past because I will always listen and I will wait for somebody to ask me my opinion about stuff or ask me to talk or ask me any questions and I'll be like, yeah, I'm ready to talk. Let me talk about it. But since no one ever really does, I'm I just never talk. And because I never really talked to anybody, because nobody really asked me questions, and I always was also growing up in the rule of speak when you're spoken to, and child should be seen and not heard type bullshit. Like I just never really talked to anybody until people engaged and talked to me. Hence why the first story when I was playing by myself, and I see my mom leave, and I started walking behind her, and then closed the door. But then I just walked to a chair because the teacher told me to sit down, and I took the nap part, and I didn't talk to nobody. And then when I woke up and everybody's laughing, I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't start talking to people until the girl came up to me and asked me to be her boyfriend. And I was like, "Hey, cool. That's when I started talking to them. But that's always been my thing. Like, people don't ask me questions. People hear me talk, and because they don't understand what I'm saying, they try to interpret what I'm saying instead of even diving deeper and saying what does that mean or what does that mean. They take their interpretation of what they think it might mean and then they'll run with it. And that's always been like a thing in my life, and I never could understand why. Because I'm always like, I feel like I'm talking like everybody else. Like I feel like I'm saying things clearly, but the more and more I've gotten older and more I understood, like I realized that as a kid I was going through what's the term? It was functional dissociation. There was a experiment done. I can't remember if it was Germany or it might have been Germany, but don't quote me. Just when I speak of the experiment, if it resonates, you remember, if it sounds familiar, you can use the keywords to look it up. You can look up, but they put a group of different men in isolation, and when they had them in isolation, of course, the men started to disassociate because they wasn't talking about. Actually, it was a great episode of the Twilight Zone with that. It was a fantastic episode. It was actually a guy. It was the same thing. They wrote the script of the show off of the experiment that happened. So they put a bunch of men in separate rooms, isolated by themselves, and it got to a point where they didn't engage with them. They didn't talk to them. They just isolated them and they just watched them to see what was going to happen. They got to the point where the people went crazy because it was quiet. They hadn't have any interaction. They didn't have any human interaction. So what they started to do was disassociate. And in the disassociation, they started to create something, anything, a reality, a concept of just some normality. Sorry, me and my brother was talking about normality earlier. It's funny, but some type of normality, and because of that, it got to the point when they were let out of the room, they still weren't talking to people. They weren't engaging with people because they was living in their own mind. They was living in their own world, their own reality. They created their own reality. Like their consciousness in my concept of this, especially with my understanding of quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and all of my studies I've been doing about CERN and um, studying and listening to interviews and lectures from Brian Greene and looking at World Science Network on YouTube about the multiverse and the branch theory and going on Gaia when I actually had Gaia. I gotta get Gaia back and talking about the spirituality and stuff like that. For me, it was only just an interpretation of these individuals allowing their consciousness to leave this reality because there's no stimulation coming from this reality to then go through their subconscious, which I feel the subconscious is a hallway to the your omniverse or your branch decisions of your timeline. For me, it's an omniverse, um, and you can like dreaming, like when you dream. I'm so grateful that Doctor Strange mom came out. I'm sorry. uh, Doctor Strange. What's the name? Because I call it Mom. Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. So I'm so happy that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out because when they just told the truth that I knew for years that dreams are just doorways or windows into the your branch versions of your life, then I was like, thank you, finally. But Marvel actually hired physicists and scientists that do give them a lot of the scientific uh, understanding behind a lot of the different powers and abilities of the different superheroes in the comic books. Because once again, one of the reasons why I was also quiet was because when I got older, when I got 16, you I started reading comic books and I started seeing, oh, there's engineers, there's fighters, of course, Wolverine, but there's engineers, there's scientists. Like Forbes can make anything just by his imagination. He could just create something from his imagination. Like it's wonderful. Like he's he's smarter than Tony Stark, except for the problem with him is he doesn't have the imagination of Tony Stark. So if him and Tony Stark actually like grew up together and actually was like in college together and stuff like that, they would have been the Reed and Doom of Marvel if that was the case. Because they would have just kept going back and forth, and then it would have been a rivalry type thing. Because Tony would be like, "Yeah, you a mutant, so you doing all this stuff, but I want to show you how better I am as a human. I want to make all this stuff." They go like, "Oh, worries, so you gonna make that stuff? We'll make your thing, and we'll make it way better." So it just would have been straight competition. Once again, I'm going to go off on a tangent on this, but I was like, I want somebody to make a story where Bullseye and Hawkeye are just on their day off. They just have a day off. They're not doing superhero stuff. They're just on the day off, and they're not together, but they somehow end up in the same location together. And it's a location where it's a movie set, and it's supposed to be like a Lord of the Rings type thing or like whatever. But they like, oh, y'all know how to like shoot bow and arrows at least a little bit. Like they like, yeah. So the whole time, Bullseye is literally trying to kill people. Like he's there so he could just be because he's bored because he has nothing to do today. He has no contracts to like get paid off on. Like he just got a day off. But he's like, I still want to kill people because he's a sociopath. But like Hawkeye is there, so Hawkeye, you see like it'll be a scene where it doesn't have any like dialogue between them. Like Hawkeye doesn't talk, Clint doesn't talk to him, he doesn't talk to Clint. Like, but the whole thing is a silent goddamn comic book with no speech bubbles. You just see Bullseye throwing stuff or shooting arrows at people, but then Hawkeye shooting the arrows out of the air so it doesn't kill the people. And that's the whole thing. And then they get at the end of it, they like the movie director say cut. Then they get like $100 check or like that. And they just be like, "Well, we'll get a bear." And that's just how it ends. They just like, well, we both got $100, so go get a bear. Like, and that's it. But anyway, going back to what I was talking about, but I, as an adult now, is one of those things that I, as a, I've realized that as a child, I basically had functional, I was just functionally just detached. And it was something I learned. And honestly, I'm grateful for it because if not for being able to detach the way I do now, like I wouldn't have been able to walk down a path of understanding the omniverse as I know it, or the concepts of the omniverse as I know it. Honestly, experience the omniverse as I have. I mean, I will be honest. I have quantum jumped. I know I've quantum jumped. I felt the quantum jump. It's not just the certain things of the Mandela effects that most people are like keen on. It's a lot of stuff that's different in a lot of different realities, and it's a lot of it actually is in my books that I'm gonna be writing. But once again, for those who are not initiated, enjoy the fiction. For those that are, then there you are. So when it comes down to it, me getting a better grasp of my disassociation, I started to also realize now as an adult why X-Men, the original animated series that continued in X-Men 97, like I understand why I enjoyed it even more because of course, like I said, I was reading the X-Men comic books and then the X-Men cartoon came out. It was serendipitous, but because of my duality. Like I was always on the thing where it's like Wolverine's my favorite character. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the storylines in the cartoon where Beast was like in prison, but regardless if he was in prison or not, anytime Beast spoke, I felt like my energy resonated. Like it like went in tune every time he spoke, like philosophy or some some type of science or some type of just metaphor of just life and existence. I was just like, yeah, like I get it. Not to mention the whole fact that like he is a brilliant man, but he's trapped in the shell of the fur that everyone sees. And every day he had to struggle to present himself as a man and not his code name of Beast. And I resonated with that because I was like, it's such a lonely experience that he's going through. But because he has this his books and he has his science and he has the things that make sense to him, he's okay. At least he's okay until the wave that triggers him comes back up again. And that was something I resonated with. That was something I like really just like keyed in on. So with that, that was also a reason, and not to mention my inquisitive mind, because I've mentioned before in a previous podcast how I created I think that was podcast number 3, how I created the equation of trying to figure out how the amount of time or amount of existence that Krishna or the Christianity God has from the Bible verse talking about like everything like a moment of God is like a day to us or something like that. So when so I always had an equation of nature, and even with that equation of nature, it was a thing where it was a thing where um no one can like talk to me about it. No one talked like no like even when I like asked, I would like besides the math equation, I would ask like my mom questions as a kid, and it was like she'd be like, let's go ask, let's go ask the pastor because this is once again when I'm 8. So mind you, I'm not getting the stimulation of being inquisitive in school no more because I feel as though I was told to lie, which made me feel as though that my mom didn't believe in me and I was going to go to college. So now my new special interest, because once again I have to put these key markers of being like these are my neurodivergent tendencies or my the possible like self-diagnosed but possible I actually go to the doctor and get tested out for it, but might have autism. Because after going on TikTok and seeing so many different people who are actually diagnosed with autism, literally coming in and saying so many things that resonate with me, and being like, "Oh, I do that too. Oh, I do that too. Oh, oh, that okay. Well, that's a new chapter. That makes sense." But pitting those inklings or ideas in that, like I pit my special interests. I took my special interests away from school, and I put my special interests into the new hotness that was in my life now, which was my mom taking us to church. That was yeah. Hence, special interest in spirituality because even though I was there chilling in church, I was bored. And it was always a thing. I didn't really care about church. I just cared about hanging out with the people I was hanging out with, the kids that was there around my age. And then eventually, I want to say like a year later, like, or I'm not sure. I can't remember if Vincent was there when I first got the church or if he came like a year later or something. I don't know. I can't remember. We was like kids. I don't know. I just remember he was my first cousin who I felt connected to. I felt I could talk to. We could do a whole bunch of stuff. Yada 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 yada. So we had so many adventures. We almost blew up in my Ford Tempo that I had. I'll get to that story. I can't remember if I told that story in the podcast or not, but I will get to that story eventually. But drink. But so when we were at church, even though I was fidgety and I like moving around, I still was listening. Like I could do two things at once. I could chew bubblegum and walk. Like, but so I was listening to like the stories and stuff like that, and casually reading the scriptures and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, this don't make sense. This don't make sense. This don't. Well, and I started asking about it. They were like, well, the Bible's about interpretation. Okay, I guess. Okay. I mean, that's the only answer I'll give me, and I guess that's what it is. So I just kept moving, but I kept wanting to learn. But at the same time, I kept looking around, and I kept looking at all these people, mainly women, of course, and some dudes. But like seeing these individuals catching the Holy Ghost, or jumping around and screaming and acting a fool or whatever, like Christian wise fool, like ludicrous style, just getting crunk in the church. But I'm like, is this supposed to be a dance hour? Like, should I get up and start dancing? Like, or should I just chill and watch the show because that's entertainment? But but I would ask like, why are they doing that? And they were like, oh, they feeling the Holy Ghost, and I was like, what is that supposed to feel like? It's supposed to be a living flame that burns inside you and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, well I guess I'll just wait my turn to feel that. And I never felt it. Never felt it. If anything, I felt like it was more of a black hole in my chest than a flame that was going to burn bright type shit. But then I started studying other theologies. I started studying Islam. I started studying like Buddhism. I started studying like I even went and started. I watched that Laura Remy Scientology show, which was amazingly interesting. Like if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. If you like documentaries and shit and just weird, fucked up shit, please watch that. Like it's incredible. Like incredible. Like don't like I I can understand how people need to cling on to something out of connection, fear, or whatever. But because I also want to connect to my tribe, but it's not me connecting to my tribe out of fear. Like I know I could do all this by myself. Like literally, I came from there was basically if we want to do a thing, we can do movie references of what's going on. Like it was think of uh 30 Miracle on 34th Street. Think of um think of Citizen Kane, but the very end of Citizen Kane, the whole Rosebud thing. This the whole Rosebud thing. Nothing else, just the Rosebud. When the old man was dying. He said Rosebud. Nobody knew what the fuck he was talking about, and it literally was just him talking about his shit sled, his red sled as a kid. Like that has happened. Um, uh, what's the other one? It's a Wonderful Life, or more up to date, Family Man, with Nicolas Cage. Uh, which Family Man was a great movie. I should watch that again. And also, oh, Butterfly Effect. Yeah, that was the easy one. Yeah. So think about those concepts of those movies. Think about the whole concept of the omniverse. Think about the whole thing of branch theory. Think about quantum jumping, and think about all. Matter of fact, watch all those movies if you want to. If you haven't watched them, or if you watched them before, watch them again because I mean classics. But yeah, basically, in layman's terms, all those movies pretty much wrapped up in a lot of stuff that I experienced in quantum jumping and dying and experiencing death and yada yada yada. Regardless of all that, in this living life, the thing of realizing and understanding that me having special interests, me being functionally detached, me learning and having an eagerness and a willingness to learn, me learning as a child to sit and not speak and only speak when spoken to, and also my acquisitive nature, just wanting to learn and listen and understand people. I get to a point where, as an adult, I'll sit somewhere and I won't engage with people because I'm just enjoying the fact of just watching people go. Like, that's why people watch. Like, I used to go to the mall, like, as a kid, like as a teenager, like 16, 17, 18, I would just go to the food court. I would take a book and I would just read my book and I would just people watch. And then it got to a point when I got older, when I got in my 20s, like I was like 21, 22, 23, and I was taking a book to like Fridays. Like I would go to Fridays, sit at the bar and just read a book and just like read a book and like people watch and yeah, and get my drinks and get my, appetizers, stuff like that, and just chill for like hours. It was wonderful to me. It still is wonderful. Like that's why I can chill in my room, my TARDIS, and just be there all day. And I won't come out my room for like days sometimes. I mean, of course, to use the laboratory and bathroom. Not, I don't want people to think I got a laboratory in my in my house. Not the house I'm currently living in. In my future house, I will. But my bathroom. I will have to go to the bathroom, so I have to leave the room. But yeah, I mean, I had like a jug of, I got a jug of water. Like, I got water in my room, so, and a refrigerator there. So, like, it's one of those things that I don't need to hydrate because I can hydrate, but it's like, I don't need to go out in the world. And the bad part is, it's learned behavior because of the fact that, like, when I did finally start talking, which I'm always so excited to talk clearly because I do an hour, 15-minute podcast. Like, I enjoy talking. But the problem was the people I grew up around, the people I was surrounded by, they couldn't understand me because I was talking about things that they just had no clue about or no interest about. So it sounded like Greek. Like, I get it. There has been times where people be telling me shit, and I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. But it's usually like sports. Sorry, once again, sports. I'll tell you this story real fast about sports. The reason why I don't like sports is I lived in a house full of women. So anytime it would come a point where sports would come on, Eagles games, basketball, stuff like that, it would literally be like the first scene of like Juno, where like Juno is just looking at all the dudes running with in their basketball shorts and looking at their dongs and shit. Like that's what I had to hear the whole time. So I'll be hearing nothing but like, "Oh yeah, his ass look great in those tights and shit." I'm like, I don't want to hear that. I don't care. Like I want to get into the game because I know other guys and other male friends like sports, and I want to learn because I want to understand it so I can have something to talk to. And I couldn't because we had the main family TV in the living room, so the main TV that was playing football literally had everybody could come in and either sit down and watch or like walk past or whatever. But because my family also do like sports too, which whatever, it was still the commentary of hearing these family members that are women sexualize these men, and I'm just like, all right, like I just I just wanted to enjoy the game. So when I tell you any of my ladies listeners or women who individuals that identify as women, trust and believe. I get it when y'all like, please don't sexualize me, and not even the please. Take the please away. Just don't fucking sexualize me. Like I get it. Like I totally understand it. So, because I had to like hear that as yeah. Then not to mention, it was a point where I can't remember how old I was, but I think I was like, I want to say like 13, 14. And I had a big booty as a kid. Like I ran a lot. I did a lot of squats. I did a lot of working out. Like I basically did like almost everything that like athletes did. Like a, I was a pretty fit kid, and it was funny. I I'm not going to pass by the juicy booty part, but one of my cousins, my older cousin's friend, when I was wearing my Kim's Karate gi or my outfit, I went to Kim's Karate as a kid. I got up to like a purple belt. No, no, I think I got no. It's a brown belt because purple was like the third. I think it was like no belt, white belt, yellow belt, purple belt, blue belt, brown belt, then brown belt advanced, and then black belt. I think I got to the first brown belt. Um, which that was funny because it the smell of feet was horrendous in there. Some days it was terrible. But anyway, um, I came down in my like Kim Karate gear like that, getting ready, and you know my booty was like poking out on some like BBL shit before that existed, and one of my cousin's friends was like, "Troy got a fat butt," and that broke me because I heard fat, and you know I'm living in a house full of women. The word fat is a no no, so like I heard that, and I was like, I'm fat. Oh, oh shit. And I like literally broke down and ran back upstairs crying because I was like, oh my God, I'm fat. Like, this is horrible. And it got to a point where I can't remember if anybody came. She did talk to me later. It was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was gonna hurt your feelings, stuff like that. She did. And I was like, nah, it's okay. I was a kid. Like I was, just saying it's fine. Like I was embarrassed, of course. I'm not who I am now. Where I'm like, yeah, every human being has emotions, so every human being has the capacity to allow themselves to cry. And if it's your prerogative to cry, then cry. The fuck is going to tell you not to cry? That's weird. Don't cry, man up. Fuck you. I want to cry. It's my emotion. I want to turn it off. I'm not a robot. Well, I mean, my body is like a goddamn machine. It runs like a furnace on coal and shit. That's why I sweat so goddamn much. But not anymore, actually, which is actually kind of funny. Ever since my blood clot, and when I me dying from my blood clot, I gotta do blood thinners, and blood thinners actually decrease perspiration. Ironically enough, who knew? Go figure. Yay, science. But so yeah, it was a thing of just me being at a point where I was like, okay, if fat is a bad thing, because I think this is when I started clicking in my special interest when I was like, oh, if something's bad, or if people perceive something as bad, I want to understand why it's bad. So I got to the point where I got to the thing where I just started gaining weight. I tried to gain weight. I started eating more. I stopped exercising and stuff like that. Only because of the fact that I was trying to get fatter to try to see what it was like on the other side. Like, was the grass greener or was it brown? Like, let's find out. So yeah, I gained a bunch of weight as a kid, and even though I gained a bunch of weight, it still became, ironically enough, what I call now social experiments. It was a thing of seeing if I was going to be able to have the same type of experience now as a overweight child, or would I have a detrimental experiment, or would I have a lightning like great experience. And honestly, it was pretty neutral. Like nobody really cared. I still got girlfriends. I still was able to like hang out and touch butts and get kissed and kiss people and yada yada yada. Like I still had a good time. Um, and my weight thing has been an interesting journey because I don't care about weight because I know how physically fit I am and how strong I am. Stronger than literally almost all the people I know. Actually, ironically enough, I actually pushed the car. I had same older cousin who friend said I had a fat booty. The same cousin, her one of her boyfriends, her ex boyfriends, his car broke down. We was in his car. We was driving around the city. I think he was driving either to work or from work. I can't remember. But he was driving in the city. His car broke down. He's bigger than me. I'm like at the time. I think I'm 5'7", 5'7.5" when I get there. I'm 5'7", but like I was like what 260 to maybe 265 at that time in my 20s or like that. Like I was solid. Like I said, I was like I was the Hugh Jackman Wolverine, not the actual MC. I mean, not the actual X-Men like Marvel Wolverine, because Marvel Wolverine is 5'3". He got a little bit taller now, but he was originally 5'3". But anyway, like, but this dude was like 320, 6'1" type shit. Why this motherfucker get in the car, put the car in neutral, and have me push the goddamn car? And because I was just motherfucking just like I just want to help. I just want to get home. I just want to fucking just be comfortable and relax. And I was like, I'll get it. I'll do it. And I pushed. This, I, I knew how to drive. I have a license. I don't even know why I didn't step up. It was like, no, no, you push. I'll steer. I didn't even think about it. But regardless, um, digress so much for the original topic. But when it came down to it, um, starting to understand now how I was acting as a child, which now regrettably and also unfortunately and also like enlighteningly like allowed me to understand so much of my past and so much of the uncomfortable feelings and the turmoils and stuff that I was going through and I experienced and stuff like that. It allowed me to really like take stock and just be grateful for it because honestly, if not for any of the bad stuff that happened to me, just like if not for any of the good stuff that happened to me, I wouldn't be sitting right here in the park and literally 55 minutes ago taking a video of a beautiful deer that let me just photograph them and just record them and just was chilling and it was dope. Like I've been saying this a lot recently. I'm like, it's so amazing that I was blessed and honored enough to be given this amazing knowledge about understanding not just the knowledge but the comprehension to this knowledge, to the fact of being like every molecule that was produced from the Big Bang already has our stories and the end of our stories and the end of existence already written in it. Like it's already there. The same way that mothers have their granddaughter's DNA inside of their DNA system. Like time is an illusion, time is a construct. Like we exist before we existed, before our parents existed to create us. Our DNA of existence is already made. Like, and that's science. Like, you don't argue with me. Just go look it up. So, and that was the problem. I would say things. I would say things that is based in science as a child. Like I was in, I was reading, I was reading Edgar Allan Poe at the age of 13, 14. The Raven is still one of my favorites. Telltale Heart is the top for me. But I love The Raven. Like, I was reading Nostradamus at the age of 13, 14. Like, I was into different type of things that of trying to understand everything at a young age. Like, since I first got here, it was just, that's always been my thing. And it was just funny because I just realized it now. I'm just like, holy shit. Like, the things I've been saying, the things I've been talking about, the things I've been like trying to express and trying to communicate with so many people, of course it goes over their head. Because one, they don't want to learn about it. They're not going to look it up. Because if they did want to learn about it, they would be looking it up. And then we'd be having these conversations. But they don't. And they have no interest in it. And if you have something, like that's like me trying to go up to Sephora. It's like me going to Sephora and being like, yeah, I'm going to waste my time and let you tell me everything about foundation and lip liner and eyeliner and stuff like that. Like, because I have nothing better to do with my life. And that's basically how my perception of it felt. Like, I'm like, hey, I want to talk about science and stuff like, or I want to talk about comic books. Even when I had concepts to talk about, somebody to talk about comic books, which was my uncle who introduced me to it, like, it was still a thing. Like, I couldn't talk to him about everything because like, he still has to work, and he's only one person. Hence, another reason, after having my poly relationship at 5, understanding one person is not going to be enough for the totality of another person. Like, we're not going to like 100% of everything that somebody else is like. And it's still not fair to us or to them to say, oh, since we're dating, you can't have any other special interest unless it's the special interest that we both equally like. That part of you has to die. Hence why it's so daunting and it's so crazy why people, when they break up, the first thing they usually say when they start getting better is like, I feel like I'm finding myself again. You know why? Because you was killing yourself in a relationship that was being dictated by both y'all, saying that y'all can't be your full self. Y'all can't do the full totality of who y'all are in your relationships. And that's fine. You don't have to be the full totality with the person that you're with. Like, it's great if you can. It's great if they do have the same special interests as you do. But we all know that we're all unique, and we all come from different things, and we all raised in different households. Yes, we all might end up being in a classroom together or being in a concert or something like that together. But that don't mean we was raised by the same two parents. Like, we don't have the same allergies. We didn't eat the same food. We didn't we don't have the same chemical balance as each other. So why would I succumb to surrendering pieces of who I am when the reason why we got together was because we enjoyed who we were, who we are. That's what drew us together. So for me, once again, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to be in a monogamous relationship for me. That's my alignment. Once again, I'm going to state this in almost every episode until it sticks in. Everything I'm saying is about me and my alignment. It has no bearing on you or your alignment. If the things that I say align with you, please indulge and enjoy. But if it doesn't, just take this as just a wonderful anecdote, a wonderful story, a Troy story. That's it. So the whole concept, it was just like, once again, the basis of I need to go where I'm appreciated and not tolerated. And I definitely need to go where I'm appreciated and not disrespected or look down upon. Because I'm literally talking about topics in the spiritual realm, of course, but also in the scientific realm. I'm speaking the same dialect as Brian Greene, who is a professor and a top physicist, a top scientist in his field, who talks to other top scientists in their field. I'm speaking about things that now are not theoretical anymore. Like the branch between science and spirituality has started to finish that gap that was between them, and it's becoming connected again. I mean, don't even get me started with the what is it, the I AI Atlas that's about to drop down. I swear to God, if it comes to Philly, I'm gonna be so happy. Be so happy. Like, take me with you. Take me with you. Teach me. I'm gonna be like Doctor Strange. Teach me. Like, just gotta make one stop before we go. But just just take me with you. I don't want to be here no more. Oh, but yeah. Um, it was just it's I realized was so quiet, and I realized why I talk so much is because I was so quiet because I couldn't talk to people. It wasn't, honestly, it wasn't until I was actually older and I actually started work, like, literally I started working at UPS, and this is when I met like another one of my best friends and stuff like that. And the first conversation, the first day we met, we literally had a chess match between Marvel characters and DC characters. His favorite character is Superman, and of course mine is Wolverine. So I had the X Men, he had the Justice League, and we was doing a verbal chess match about, okay, this character is going to do this. All right, I'll have my character move in and do this. And it was great, and it was just like I finally found somebody who I can relate to, I can connect to, I can actually talk to. Like, and it was great because he was also very intelligent. I was very intelligent and clever, and we just vibed with it. We like video games, we like comic books. We both drink. We both was watching Angel and Buffy at the same time. Like we like reading like actual books instead, not just comic books. Like we had a great like friendship relationship, and it was amazing. It was one of the first times I actually really felt comfortable, comfortable in my own skin, accepted. It was a beautiful moment, and the more and more I started getting out there in the world, the more and more I started to express myself, the more and more I started to realize, oh, I feel so much more comfortable away from my family. I can actually be myself. People are listening to me. I'm actually can talk to people, and I can actually have conversations with them, and it could be intellectual conversation. Now, don't get me wrong, the intellectual conversation was very far and few between, but it got to a point where it was like, okay, I am finding other people that are engaging in the other special interests that I have. So I'll just choose to engage with them on the other thing. But then it got to a point where growing up, of course, my special interest was always about sex and sexuality, even as a child, because 5-year-old had, poly relationship. I'm in a throuple. So I'm way more advanced than most of my peers already. So when it got to a point of just saying, okay, sex is a natural, normal thing, being attracted to the opposite sex or the same sex is a normal thing. Being attracted to whatever you're attracted to is a normal thing because we're all unique. And what's normal is what our own base code says is normal for us. If it makes you feel comfortable, then that means it's normal for you. Now, I will say my only candid fucking decree will always be never do anything that make anybody else uncomfortable and never do anything that you don't have consent to do. Like, but if you don't, listen, I watched a whole bunch of documentaries, and I love watching certain documentaries. But my thing is this: if I've seen many documentaries where like people was like, "I got married to a tree," or the movie Lars and the Real Girl, which is a phenomenal movie. It was a phenomenal because once again, another black sheep, isolated individual who didn't feel connected or a connection from anybody. He was on an island by himself, surrounded by a whole bunch of people. That was the whole movie, and he found a connection with an inanimate object, yes, but at the same time, it was so startling for everybody because they was like, "Well, why can't you get a real girlfriend?" And he was like, "Well, she is a real girlfriend to me." And it was like, "Well, that's weird." Okay, but what y'all doing is weird to me. Y'all pretending like y'all not going to be attracted to other people, but y'all saying that y'all going to stay with each other because y'all only have each other for each other, but y'all still go to movies and y'all both comment on how y'all movie stars are attractive and how y'all attracted to them. So if y'all know that attraction is not a light switch that you can flip on and off, then why flip it on and off? Just be yourself. Have these kind of conversations. Literally, it was the whole thing with the I love the clip with Anna Kendrick. No, okay, yeah, I did say the right name. Sorry, I was about to say, did I say Anna Kendrick or Anna Kendrick? Anyway, Anna Kendrick was on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and it was a couple that was in the audience, and the wife was like came out was like, "Hey, I want to ask you a question, but before I ask the question, I want you to know the rules. The rules are you're his hall pass. You're on his hall pass list." And it wasn't like she was saying it to be like, "Oh yeah, you get to fuck my like husband," because Anna Kendrick has to like accept and be like, "Oh, I give my consent to do that." But at the same time, as his fiance, she was letting the person that's on his list know the rules. If you want to join, you can. It's open. Those are the rules. We're both okay with that. And I'm letting you know I'm okay with that because I'm telling you this is what's going on. And that's all I'd be doing. I'd be like, I want to tell people what's going on with my rules. But then I'd be telling people my rules and they want to interpret my rules instead of understanding what I'm actually saying. I literally had a I literally had a whole thing today where, and honestly, more likely they're probably not going to listen to the podcast, or if they do, they're going to do just like whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I can't ponder what everybody else is thinking. But I had a, I wrote something. I wrote something to a bunch of like friends and people I know and stuff like that. And the concept was, it was basically, I was talking about, my uh just ideology and everything like that. And it was so funny because, hold on, let me let me read the actual message I actually wrote. So the message I wrote was, now imagine that you have access to all the knowledge within all of these infinite timelines. You can pick and trust everything in every action you make. However, most won't be able to handle that idea of another possible timeline because of taxes. We We're made of photons. We're literally the light in a double split equation of this light show. And I put my bear emoji as my light marker because I wasn't putting my bear phoenix yet. I was just doing my bear. So the person texts me back after I wrote all that, and the person texts me back, taxes with a question mark. It was like all that went over your head, and exactly what my point was. Nobody can even fathom going past those because they can't get past the taxes, the indoctrination of the mundane of this bullshit concept of reality or society that was thrust upon us. And I was like, well, that's just what it is. But that's my life. Like people keep looking at their perspective instead of looking at the words I'm saying. Even with, oh my God, I even had a situation where I literally sent another family member. Basically, I was like, hey, can you do something for me? Cool. I don't want this to be told yet because of the fact that I want to have it be told by me. Like, I don't want anybody to know about this unless it's coming from my mouth. Then I get a text message back, and literally the text message is, XYZ, Troy wants this because Troy blah blah blah. And I'm like, so when I wrote verbatim, I don't want anybody knowing about this except coming from me. I didn't realize that also that family member understood the quantum equation of all of us being a phoenix and all of us being one with each other. Because clearly he's Troyiverse now. Like, I'm not just Troyiverse, he's also Troyiverse because he's talking about the thing I told him in the text message from my actual written words. Hey, I don't want them knowing this except from coming from me. So this is what I mean when I'm like, go where you're appreciated, go where you're respected, go where you're where you're understood. Like go where you're understood. Like, because it's all you're going to do is live your life the best way you can do. And all I can do, especially with this new knowledge and this new understanding of the disrespect and the how, I mean, hell, let's call a spade a spade. My mom forgot my birthday 3 times in my life. I'm not sure how other parents do. I have a child myself. It's seared. Her birthday is seared in my brain. I actually still have birthdays of exes that I like that's in my brain. Like, I was literally talking about one of my ex's birthday being like July 27th with my brother earlier, stuff like that. Like, I remember people's birthdays because I care about people. I would hope and expect that the person who gave birth to me will also care about me enough to remember my birthday, but 3 times forgot it. But to add insult to injury, because it's not just one of those like, oh, get over it, like she might have forgotten other people's birthday. The same year, because this actually, the third time she did it was this year. This year was the third time she actually found my birthday. But this year was also literally in September was one of my other cousin's birthday. My mom called me up to remind me to say happy birthday to my cousin. So I was in that point I was like, oh. And then even to add insult to injury, the reason why she knew to say happy birthday to me was because of the fact that that same cousin came over that day and was like, oh, hey, happy birthday, Troy. She's like, oh my God, it's Troy's birthday. That cousin called up my uncle and then told my uncle that she forgot my birthday. They had a good old jolly laugh to the point where my uncle called and he was laughing still. It was like, oh my gosh, she forgot your birthday again. I'm like, yeah, she did. Oh God, like I don't know how that story makes you feel or resonate with you, but the fact of the matter is, if you ever had a birthday forgotten, your birthday forgotten, that's kind of shows you where you stand with the person who forgot your birthday. So let's correlate that with the person who actually gave birth to me. Forget a birthday. Not once, not twice, three times. I'm not really a fan of sports, but I do know baseball. I'm out. That's all I can do, be out. But since it's coming to that closing mark, I'm not going to end it off on that type of solemn note. Let's talk about the Rick and Morty episode of my life when I was a child. Once again, going back to when I was 8. I was 8 years old. There was a speakeasy that was around the corner from my block, around the corner from my house on across the street from the block, literally going towards the school that I used to go to, my elementary school. My grandpa used to frequent that bar. I used to go in that bar with my grandpa as an 8-year-old, and I used to dance in the bar, like kid dance, like nothing crazy. Get your mind out together. Like I was just kid dancing, Running Man, the Roger Rabbit, shit like that. Like I loved dancing when I was a kid. If I was at a forget about it. If I was at a wedding, if I was ever at a wedding, forget about it. It was a whole nother Troy when I was at because I could wear a suit. So basically, I was like Sam Rockwell in like almost every movie. I'd be in the suit and I'd just be fucking jamming, just dance. I would dance with so many people at weddings. I would dance with everybody, but I would be at the bar and I'd be dancing at the bar for like quarters and dollars and stuff while my grandpa was getting drunk, drinking his beers and shit, talking to his friends and shit. Hence why I felt comfortable talking and engaging with older people because I was around older people because my mom was at work doing 2 jobs and I was being raised by my grandma and my grandpa. So we would go to the bar and I just didn't want to be at the house watching God in Light or Young and the Restless or The Bold and the Beautiful with my grandma. Then I would go hang out with my grandpa. We would go to the bar. And I would just dance. I would get some dollars and quarters and stuff like that. Hang out with old people. They would like we have conversations and stuff. But of course they was drunk, so they wouldn't. They like just saying random shit, and I'd just be like, okay, like wow, let's keep talking. Like how far could I go with this conversation with this older person? And that's when later on I became more emboldened to talk to more older people, and that's when I actually was working for my mom's pastor, and she worked with the elderly, delivering groceries and stuff like that. So and I would just talk to them, just listen to their stories and stuff like that. But that's also a reason why I feel comfortable as an adult talking to children and teenagers and other people of all different ages because I was a in my single digits talking to people in their like 50s and 60s and shit and having conversations with them. And same thing when I was in like 13, 14, 15, 16, having these deep introspective conversations with like these older adults. So then now as an adult myself, I'm like, yeah, why not go back into like the younger generations and talk to them and stuff like that and like enlighten them about my like candor and my stories and my stuff. Like it's just like paying it forward, passing knowledge to the next generation. And it was just this that's it's just I just feel like more people need to communicate more, and I feel like so many people get bogged down by the indoctrination, by taxes, by just like the everyday life things that it's hard to allow themselves to get to a point of stillness that they can actually sit and comprehend what people are telling them or what people are trying to tell like say to them. And I don't know, I just feel like now that I'm more balanced, now that I actually know myself better, I can spread this message of my stories, and hopefully my stories can help galvanize somebody else to actually feel comfortable enough to actually like go out in the world and like do their own thing. And when I say go out in the world, you can be home and make a podcast. You could be home and I I I record myself like practicing my bass guitar, and I'm spreading it out to the world. Like I'm commenting tidbits about my belief system and things I cherish and stuff, and getting reactions and finding a community. Like I really do. I adore TikTok. Like I do. Like, but at the same time, I know that I need to get out of here. So, and literally and figuratively, because now it's literally an hour and 15 minutes, and it's pitch black out here. And I tried to say last time I was going to be out here when it's dark, but clearly I got to come out here earlier. So, thanks again for listening. I appreciate you being here, and yeah, welcome to the Troyiverse. If this is your first time, and if this isn't, then I'm happy that we traversed this verse together, and I hope to engage you again on episode 6. All right, y'all have a great one. This has been a Troyiverse production.